All right, you guys, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the moment of truth with the Detroit Lions. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys, this is going to be one of the most important drafts that the Detroit Lions have had in a very, very long time. And first, before we talk about anything else, I want to put before you these three candidates. These are the guys that could possibly be the number 3 pick on Thursday if the Detroit Lions do not trade down. If the Lions decide to stay at 3 and take a playmaker, these guys could be possibly your playmakers. Now, the reason why I don't have Chase Young picture on here is obvious. Chase Young will probably end up being a Washington Redskins. He is from that area, and I definitely think that the Redskins would love to bring Chase Young home. Now, the biggest thing right now is for the Detroit Lions, not only to get the first pick right, but to be able to get the draft class right. The Lions have to and they must get the draft right. They have to find immediate impact players that will be able to be plug and play guys that will buy in from day one, guys that don't have to be taught a lot of different things, that they'll pick up on the scheme really, really fast, and they'll be able to translate it to the field. And I put before you these 3 guys because if you know already, Jeff Okudah has been mocked to the Detroit Lions so many times. But I want to say this, that you can't forget about Amani Oruwariye. Amani Oruwariye was supposed to be a steal for the Lions last season. The Lions finally gave Amani Oruwariye an opportunity, and he made the most of it. He ended up having 2 interceptions, tied with Darius Slay for the most interceptions on the team. So I'm not saying that the Lions couldn't take Okudah. I'm not saying that. You got to hear me out on this. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is they took a corner last year, and pretty much they started grooming Amani Oruwariye towards the end of the season. He played well. And I'm not saying that if they picked up Jeff Okudah, that he would not fit in with what the Lions are trying to do. Basically, what I'm saying to you, that this is the most important draft for the Detroit Lions. They must get it right. Not only for the fans' sake, not only for people's jobs like Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn and other people and other staff members that can lose their jobs, because this is supposed to be a make or break season for Bob Quinn and for Matt Patricia. So Jeff Okudah could possibly be that pick. He could be that, because we don't know. Because sometimes these guys speak in so many different codes. Isaiah Simmons, the guy that I want, the guy that I think that will be able to come in and change the face of the defense and be a leader for this team. A young guy like Isaiah Simmons, who I've nicknamed the Cyborg. I definitely think that Isaiah Simmons fits what Detroit needs, and that's a dog and a playmaker. And when you look at what Isaiah Simmons brings to the table, it's just so much versatility, where he can be put anywhere. And you got to love that. But then you also got Derrick Brown, who is a load up front and is a very, very dominant big man that the Detroit Lions also need. But I say all this to say to you that this is the most important draft for the Detroit Lions in 2020. Because a lot is on the line. You must get this draft class right if you are the Detroit Lions. I know some people want Jeff Okudah. I know some people want Isaiah Simmons. I know that some people even want Derrick Brown. Some people want Chase Young. As a fan base, we're all over the place with who we want. But the Lions are going to do what they feel is the best. And if they don't get the best possibility of getting a nice trade that would have them to be able to trade down, then the Lions are going to stay at that 3 spot. And they shouldn't trade down. If you're not going to give me what I want and what I feel that the 3 spot is worth, you're not going to give me that, then guess what? I'm going to do what I have to do as a GM to make sure I get the best possible talent on the field. When you Bob Quinn, you have to recognize that this is the season where you have to find talent. I know we've talked about Kerryon Johnson so much. We've talked about Bo Scarborough. We talked about the backfield. We talked about having dogs out on the field because I believe in having dogs out on the field. The Lions need that. You guys know, and I know, that the Detroit Lions need a playmaker. When you look at this franchise and when you look at this team and this roster, you name me a dog on this roster right now. If you guys think that I'm wrong and you see a dog on this team, let me know, because I might be wrong. But as I've been looking, I don't see any dogs around. And the type of dog I like is the dog that bites before he barks. I don't want my dog barking. I want him to bite. And when I look at everything that could possibly happen on Thursday night, I know that Okudah could be the pick. I know that Isaiah Simmons could be the pick. I know that Derrick Brown could possibly be the pick. But I think what the Lions are going to do, they're going to pick the best possible talent that is going to change the culture in this franchise. They haven't had that in a long time. The last time we had a defensive player that was sort of changing the culture and brought a mean streak to the team, that was Sue. That's been years ago. Sue is no longer a part of this team. He's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, must I remind you. The Detroit Lions need a playmaker. And when I look at Jeff Okudah, I'm not saying that he's not a playmaker. I'm not saying that Jeff Okudah is not good. Hear me out on this, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Derrick Brown is not good because he's a playmaker. All 3 of these guys are playmakers. But it comes a time where you have to sit down and evaluate your talent on your roster. You have to add something to this team that gives this team what they need. And I think, to me, this is just me, guys. You guys can think different from me. To me, Isaiah Simmons fits the mold of what I'm trying to do on defense. I have Amani Oruwariye. I can start Amani. I can always draft another corner in this draft class because there's more corners that can be drafted. Just not Jeff Okudah. There's several different corners that you guys might like. Henderson, Terrell, Gladney, there Diggs. There's several different corners that you can get. But I know one thing that the Detroit Lions have to get right, guys. And that is making sure that they get this whole entire draft class right. And I'm not just talking about the 3rd pick. I'm talking about the whole entire draft class hitting nothing but home runs. The Lions must hit grand slams out of the park. They must look for dogs. They must look for impact players. And that's what I've been hearing Bob Quinn say. And if he's saying it, I want to see it. On draft night, I want to see it. I know when Kerryon Johnson is healthy, what Kerryon brings to the table. I know how Bo Scarborough looked when he came with the team. But I think that we need another running back. We need a guy back there that's going to be consistent back there. Matthew Stafford needs the help, guys. We all know that. He needs help on the offensive line. He needs a running back that can be consistent. No knock to Kerryon Johnson, but his injuries have been pretty much keeping him limited and keeping him off the field. The Detroit Lions got to get this thing right, guys. They got to get this thing right. If this is the last thing that the Lions do, they got to hit the home run with this draft class. Now, I know, guys, personally, it's just my opinion. I want for the Lions to draft Isaiah Simmons, but I'm willing to put my ego and everything to the side and say, hey, whatever's best for the team. If you decide to go with Jeff Okudah, so be it. If you decide to go up and try to get Chase Young, so be it. If you select Derrick Brown, so be it. But what I do know as a Detroit Lion fan is that I want to see this defense changed. I want to see guys bring it all. And if these are the guys that you're selecting from, I want to see the heat from all of these guys if they're drafted. But my personal pick and who I'm picking that's going to be a game changer for the Detroit Lions franchise is no other than Isaiah Simmons. That's my pick. To each his own with your pick. You let me know in the comment section what you feel about this franchise going into the draft on Thursday night. I'm out of here. Peace.
I gave you my heart.